Yeah, first of all, let me ask you about your experiences about this conference. Was there any special moment or session which sticks in your mind from this conference?
Well, I attend a lot of conferences, and some of them 1 day to 3 or 4 days, and you never know quite what to expect. And this is my first time to visit Hungary, so I especially did not know what to expect. But it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot, actually. There were different presentations. Every one of them, to me, personally, was interesting. And I'll have to admit, when I go to these conferences, often I know the content already, so sometimes it's not so interesting to me, although it's interesting to see how people are thinking and their enthusiasm. But today, the actual content was quite interesting. So we had a discussion about how to revolutionize the publishing industry. I'm now a publisher as of a year and a half ago, so I'm interested in that. Plus, it is an industry that's just waiting to be revolutionized. It's going to happen soon. So that was very interesting. The professors presented some research. I'm always interested in that. They had some data to share about what companies in Hungary are doing. I thought I was very interested in that. And then we had the coach of the talking about handball and coaching. And that's actually a deep interest of mine. Recently, I spent a lot of time with coaches, athletic coaches in the U.S., exploring the relationship between that work and the work that we usually do. So for me, it was very interesting. Plus, then the enthusiasm of the participants was interesting. So it was a good day.
Nice to hear it. What do you think, how open is the Hungarian business community to the implementation of the lean thinking?
I look forward to finding out how open the Hungarian industry is to lean thinking. I have not yet visited a company here. And one of the most important things about lean thinking is we believe in going and seeing for ourselves and observing. I'll get a chance to do that this week, and I look forward to learning and seeing. What I could see from talking with people today and also talking with my colleagues at the Lean Enterprise Institute Hungary over the recent months is that it's very fertile ground here. Clearly, there's a lot that's happened. My concern would be that, as often happens, it initially comes into countries as a result of the global multinationals. And that's okay. But what we really like to see is that for this thinking to seep from there into local companies, small organizations. And that sometimes takes time, but that becomes very exciting. So I look forward to seeing that.
Actually, how did you fall in love with lean? If you did fall in love.
I fell in love with lean, and I found it in a very unusual way, I suppose. As a youngish American in the 1970s, I decided to go to Japan in search of the world's best production and management systems. I didn't know where that search would lead. By an accident, it landed me in Toyota City in the early 1980s. And I had the chance of being the only American working there for a period of time, helping the Toyota to figure out how it could transfer its production and management system overseas. For me, it was perfect. That was my dream. That's exactly what I wanted. Before I could help them do that, they had to teach me first. And from the very beginning, very early on, I did fall in love with it, and I still am. And I fell in love very clearly. I was quite aware in those early years when I was learning this. You could give me any amount of money, and there's nothing I would rather do than what I was doing then, no matter how much money I might have. And years later, it's exciting as I see other people learn this and see what it can do for them. So the infatuation has continued.
Okay, you are a special person, but sometimes it is not so easy to convince people that lean thinking is good for them, for themselves. What do you think? Do you often meet this problem in other companies, or how can a manager convict the employees to love it and to will it?
So how can a manager convince the employees to love it and to live it? There's one way, and one way only. That manager has to love it and live it. So the issue is not for that manager to try to convince others. That issue is for that manager to learn it. And so when I interact with managers, that's what I say. You cannot get others to love and live anything unless you do it yourself. So that's where it has to begin. In convincing, I don't try to do a lot of convincing. If someone doesn't want to do this, that's okay. People can choose to do what they wish. One doesn't have to do anything. Life is a matter of choices. If someone wants to learn this, then I will do everything I can to help them learn. If they don't want to, then that's okay. I can go somewhere else where there are plenty of people wanting to learn. And that's why it's exciting to see this happening in Hungary now. It looks like there are a lot of people and companies wanting to learn this. And so if that's the case, we'll do everything we can to help them.
Your presentations were really exciting, but sometimes I felt that the things are not as easy as you mentioned it. How long does it take to learn to see, to enjoy it, to understand what to do and how to do that, and then to like it?
I would never want to say it's easy. I try to say it's simple and it's possible. However, it's actually very hard. And when people say change is hard or change management is hard, change in organizations is hard, this is what we mean. It really is hard. You actually have to look at yourself and how you think, how you react. You have to look at your deep assumptions and challenge yourself. And that's actually very hard. But it is simple, it's logical, and it is learnable. If someone decides they want to and then thinks of the right way that they can go about changing themselves, then it is possible. So the first thought may be, oh, that's going to be very hard. So that's a, oh no. The second thought, though, should be, well, this is exciting because it is doable. I can do this.
Actually, what factors should a company concentrate on before introducing and implementing lean?
I don't understand the question.
Didn't you understand it?
I don't understand it.
What factors should a company concentrate on before implementing lean?
There's nothing to concentrate on before they implement lean. What the company needs to do is think about what problem do we need to solve. And as they try to solve that problem, whatever it may be, they're facing declining market share, or they're finding that a lot of employees are unhappy and therefore leaving. They're finding that their quality is not as good as it used to be. It's just, whatever problem they're facing, then they can bring this thinking in to help them solve that problem. That's the important thing. No company should start this in terms of wanting to be lean for lean's own sake. I want to be a lean company. That's not the point. That takes you down a funny path. You have problems you need to solve, and this thinking can help you do it. And as you do that, it immediately, quickly becomes very exciting, and it's very real from the very first day. What problem are we trying to solve? Why? And how can we bring these principles to bear so we can make progress? I would never want to say that it's easy.
And what are the most common mistakes in implementing lean? What do you think?
There are some common mistakes in implementing lean. A couple are, first of all, senior leaders thinking it's something that they don't have to learn themselves, that they can just tell the organization to go do it. Leaders at all levels will have to learn it themselves, and their behavior will change accordingly. So that's one mistake I see companies make. Another is they begin to implement the tools, the lean tools, for the tool's own sake. It's like if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's an old saying. But it's true for these kinds of tools as well. So we need to have a specific problem we want to solve, a specific challenge we want to try to achieve, to attain. And then we bring these methodologies to play to help us do that. If we do that, then we can avoid the pitfalls that many companies have.
How does lean apply to non-manufacturing settings? Is it possible, actually?
So lean thinking and lean production, lean management was born in manufacturing. So you can go in a manufacturing arena, you can see and understand how it works. And that's where it was born. As it turns out, somewhat to my surprise, because that's where I first learned it, the same principles apply, and even a lot of the techniques apply in any setting, including non-manufacturing. In recent years in the United States and some other countries as well, the biggest boom area for lean thinking is healthcare, not manufacturing at all. So every major healthcare institution in the United States has a lean initiative now. Some of them very successful, very exciting to see, showing the same kind of improvements in quality, improvements in employee satisfaction that we see in manufacturing. I think in the future there will be more service industries that will start to do this as well. Sometimes it's a little harder because in a factory you can see when a machine breaks. You can see when there's a quality mistake or an error. It's harder to see in a lot of office work where people are just using their brains. They're sitting at a cubicle at a desk. You can't see the work flowing. So it can be harder to do, but the questions to ask and the path to take it turns out is remarkably the same, to my great surprise. At the end of the day, work is work, and it's very much the same no matter what you're doing.
Today you have introduced a book and you've spoken about A3 process. I would like to ask how would you like to see A3s get incorporated into the problem-solving process in many companies?
So today we introduced a book that I wrote a couple of years ago called Managing to Learn. And in that book we introduce what we call the A3 management process. And A3 just means the paper size. It's a communication device that people can use to share ideas. It's also a thinking device. So to help me or my team think through a problem so we can think it through logically and think it through scientifically. So that's a process, again, I think any company can use in any individual. There are some techniques about how to use it effectively as a communication tool and an alignment tool so that we can help our organization understand where it's trying to go and then be able to adapt to the problems that it faces moment to moment. It turns out it can be a very helpful tool and process for companies at any stage of their lean journey, when they're just starting or even as they're very advanced. So I think as I come to visit Hungary again, I'll expect to see a lot of companies using this.
Are you sure?
No.
It's a hope.
Neither. It's an expectation. Neither am I sure, nor is it just a hope. It's an expectation.
And why do you expect that?
It's logical and helpful. If people will give it a try, I'm confident that they'll find that it can be very helpful. First thing is they have to give it a try. So we offered the book. The book is pretty popular around the world now. So now that it's available in Hungarian. One issue is there aren't many books about lean available in Hungarian. And we think that's important because lean thinking wants to involve and engage everyone in the organization, not just the senior leaders who may be comfortable reading English as I might be, but everyone. And so having some books available in Hungarian may be important. And so now so I'm very happy that that book is now available in Hungarian.
Actually, you think that the recent credit and economic crisis has shown to management that lean can work, and maybe it is true in Hungary too?
You know, companies choose to undertake and learn lean thinking for different motivations. It may be most helpful when the company is doing very well. Then we can afford to invest the time in changing our culture. A lot of companies wait until there's quite a crisis, but that's okay. It's when they're facing a problem that they realize that they need to change. And so I think it is true that starting in 2008, a lot of companies looked in the mirror and realized they needed to change themselves. And so I think there might have been, so if this thinking has been around, and calling it lean thinking has been around now for a little over 20 years, I think in the last couple of years there's kind of a new boom. So it's more popular than ever, I think. And that's interesting to see, it's exciting to see. And through these 20 years we've seen different management fads come along. They usually have a half-life of maybe 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years, and then they fade away. So lean is showing that it has good staying power. And I think it's because it's a natural and very effective way for anyone to do their work.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.